The hallway outside Grandma's old study still smelled like polished wood and lavender oil. It felt wrong to be here without her footsteps echoing through it. You stood near the back of the room, hands folded tightly in front of you, watching as relatives slowly filled the chairs like they were arriving at an auction instead of a farewell. Black clothes, fake tears, quiet whispers that stopped the moment anyone tried to look innocent. Grandma's portrait hung above the fireplace. Her eyes, calm, steady, unreadable, seemed to follow every single person in the room, especially you. The lawyer cleared his throat at the front table. A thick envelope rested beside a sealed metal box. "No one spoke anymore. Before we begin," he said, adjusting his glasses, "I must inform you that this will include a recorded statement from your grandmother and a secondary sealed instruction that can only be opened under specific conditions." Murmurs spread instantly. Your uncle leaned toward your aunt and whispered something sharp. She nodded like she had already decided something about you long ago. You ignored it. You had learned how. You had not come here for money, not even for closure. You had come because Grandma asked you to be present. Only you, that memory alone was enough to keep you standing straight, while everyone else looked like they were waiting for their share of something they had not earned. The lawyer opened the envelope. The sound of paper tearing felt too loud. "We will begin with the basic distribution," he said. But before he could read a single name, your uncle suddenly stood up. His chair scraped violently against the floor. "No," he interrupted. Every head turned. He pointed directly at you. "I want to say something before this goes any further." Your heart didn't jump. It just sank slowly, like it had already seen this moment, coming somewhere deep inside you. The room shifted. "What is this about?" the lawyer asked calmly. Your uncle didn't hesitate. "It's about her," he said, still pointing. "We all know what she did." A pause. Then your aunt added quickly, like she had been waiting for her cue. "She stole from Grandma." The words landed heavier than anything else in the room. For a second you thought you misheard her, but then it spread like ink in water. She was the only one always around her. She had access. Grandma changed after she started coming more often. Your chest tightened, but your voice stayed steady when you finally spoke. "I never stole anything." Your cousin laughed once, short and bitter. "Of course you'd say that." The lawyer raised a hand. "This is not the time for accusations." But no one was listening anymore. Your uncle stepped closer, voice rising. "Grandma's jewelry went missing last month. And guess who was here the day before she died alone? You." A silence dropped. That part was true. You had been there because Grandma had called you, because she said she was afraid, because she asked you not to tell anyone. Your throat tightened. "She gave me permission to be here." You said. "Convenient." Your aunt snapped. "Now she can't defend you." That hit harder than anything else. The room wasn't just watching you anymore, it was judging you. Like every memory you had with Grandma had been rewritten in real time. The lawyer tried again, more firmly this time. "Unless you have proof, we will proceed." "We do have proof." Your uncle cut in. He pulled out his phone. A blurry image appeared on the screen. An old camera, still from the hallway, outside Grandma's room. It showed you standing near her door, late at night. Whispers erupted instantly. "That's it. She was sneaking around. I knew it." You stared at the image, heart pounding now, not because you were guilty, but because you recognized what it really was. A half-truth twisted just enough to become a weapon. "I was checking on her." You said quietly. "She called me that night. She wasn't feeling well." Your voice felt small in a room that had already decided your guilt. No one responded, not even the lawyer at first. Then, finally, he spoke. "Regardless of personal disputes, we must continue the reading." But the damage was already done. The chairs had shifted. The air had changed. Even the way people looked at you had hardened, like you were no longer family, Just a problem waiting to be exposed. Your uncle leaned back, satisfied now. Let's see what she left the thief. He muttered loudly enough for everyone to hear. The lawyer hesitated. Then he said something that made the entire room freeze. Before I proceed, there is something your grandmother specifically instructed me to address if any accusations were made during this meeting. He reached under the table. A small remote device appeared in his hand. And if that condition is triggered, he continued, I am required to play a recorded message immediately. Your aunt frowned. What message? The lawyer looked at the sealed box beside him. From your grandmother. Silence fell again. But this time it was different. He pressed a button, but didn't play anything yet. He simply said, Now, do you still wish to continue accusing her? No one answered. Because suddenly no one looked certain anymore. The silence after the lawyer's question didn't last long, but it changed everything. It wasn't the kind of silence that brought peace. It was the kind that made people uncomfortable with their own certainty. Your uncle shifted in his seat first, breaking it like he was refusing to be challenged. Just play the will, he said sharply. We're not here for emotional tricks. A few heads nodded quickly, eager to return to something they could control. Money, names, percentages, anything except uncertainty, but the lawyer didn't move. Instead, he looked at all of them slowly, deliberately, like he had seen this exact reaction many times before. Your grandmother anticipated this, he said calmly. That is why she left instructions that cannot be bypassed once triggered. Your aunt crossed her arms. Triggered by what exactly? Her favoritism. That word landed like a spark. Favoritism. You felt it in the shift of their eyes again, how quickly they returned to you. As if everything wrong in the room could be explained by your existence. The lawyer ignored the jab and continued. The trigger condition is simple. If any false accusation or allegation is made against the named beneficiary during the reading, the recorded message must be played immediately. Your cousin scoffed, so we can't even speak the truth, but there was hesitation in her voice now, less confidence, more doubt trying to hide behind anger. The lawyer tapped the sealed metal box once. Your grandmother believed truth does not fear verification. That phrase lingered. You almost smiled at it just slightly. That sounded exactly like her. Strong, precise, quietly terrifying when she decided something mattered. But your family didn't see her that way. To them, she was just the source of inheritance. And you were the obstacle. Your uncle leaned forward again, voice lower now but sharper. We are not accusing her for no reason, he said. We are protecting what is left of this family. Grandma was old, influenced, confused. That word hit you harder than the rest. Confused, as if the woman who raised half of them, who remembered every birthday without fail, who ran a household stronger than all of them combined, had simply become unreliable at the end. Your hands tightened. She wasn't confused. You said quietly. Your aunt turned to you immediately. You were always with her. You think we don't know how that looks. I was there because she asked me to be. You replied. She asked you. Your cousin repeated mockingly. Of course she did. The sarcasm made something in your chest ache, not anger exactly, but something heavier. Exhaustion, the kind that comes from realizing no explanation will ever be enough. The lawyer raised a hand again. I will remind everyone, continued accusations will result in immediate playback of the recording. For the first time, a few relatives looked uneasy. But your uncle wasn't done. He pulled out his phone again. This isn't just accusations, he said. We found something else. He turned the screen toward the room. A second image appeared, grainy, low light. It showed you inside Grandma's bedroom drawer, halved, earned as if caught in motion. Gasps followed instantly. Your aunt's hand flew to her mouth, but her eyes didn't show shock. They showed confirmation. Like she had been waiting for this exact piece to complete her story. "That's her," she whispered. "I knew it." Your throat went dry. "I never touched her things. You said immediately, that photo is taken out of context, but the explanation didn't matter anymore." It never did, because people don't evaluate truth equally when they've already chosen a villain. Your cousin stood now too, voice louder. "How long have you been taking advantage of her? Be honest." "I didn't take anything," you repeated, stronger this time. But your words were hitting a wall no one admitted was there. The lawyer's voice cut through the rising noise. "Where did you obtain these images?" Your uncle hesitated, but only slightly. "A caretaker shared them." That was enough. Not proof, not context, just enough to build suspicion. And suspicion, once planted, grows faster than truth can fight it. The room had changed now completely. The will didn't matter anymore. Neither did Grandma's instructions. They were all looking at you like the answer had already been decided. The lawyer glanced at you briefly, something unreadable in his expression. Not judgment, not sympathy, something closer to caution. He knew what was coming. "I must remind you," he said again, more firmly, "that if the recording is played, it cannot be stopped once started." Your uncle scoffed. "Then play it. Let's hear Grandma defend her favorite thief." That word again, thief. It echoed longer than it should have. The lawyer paused. Then slowly he placed his finger on the remote. The room leaned in without realizing it. Even those who pretended not to care were suddenly watching more closely. You felt it then, not fear, exactly, but the beginning of something shifting, like a door quietly unlocking somewhere you couldn't see yet. The lawyer exhaled once and said, "Very well." He pressed play, and the screen behind him flickered to life. The screen flickered once, then steadied. A soft hum filled the room, the kind of sound that makes people instinctively stop breathing too loudly. The projector light cast a pale glow across the lawyer's table, cutting the room in half, the past on one side, the present holding its breath on the other. And there she was, Grandma, but not the version everyone remembered from the funeral. This was months earlier. Stronger, upright in her armchair near the window, wrapped in her familiar shawl, eyes sharp with that same quiet authority that had ruled every gathering, every argument, every decision in that house for decades. Your throat tightened instantly, because seeing her like this made everything feel temporarily unreal. Like she might speak directly through the screen and correct the chaos unfolding in real time. The room went completely silent. Even your uncle didn't speak. Grandma adjusted slightly in the chair, as if she already knew exactly when this recording would be watched, and by whom. "If you are watching this," she began, her voice calm but firm, "then I am no longer alive, and my family has gathered to divide what I have left." A few relatives shifted uncomfortably. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "And if my prediction is correct," she continued, "you are also accusing my grandchild." That word, grandchild, landed differently than anything said before it. Not favoritism, not accusation, protection. Your aunt frowned slightly but said nothing. On screen, Grandma leaned forward. "Let me be very clear," she said. "I did not leave my affairs to people who only remembered my existence when I stopped answering my phone." A pause. It was sharp, intentional, the kind of pause that forces honesty into uncomfortable corners. "I know who visited me out of love," she continued. "And I know who visited me out of expectation." Your uncle's jaw tightened, your cousin shifted in her seat. But Grandma wasn't done. Her gaze seemed to sharpen through the camera lens itself. "And I know," she said slowly, "who will try to rewrite the truth after I am gone." Your breath caught, because it felt like she was looking directly at you, not accusing, not doubting, but anchoring you in place while everything else tried to spin out of control. The lawyer stood still, watching the screen without expression. He had seen this before, but your family hadn't. Not like this. Grandma leaned back slightly in the video. If any of you are currently accusing my grandchild, she said, then you have already proven my decision correct. A murmur started immediately in the room. What does that mean? Your aunt whispered sharply, but the lawyer raised a hand again. Quiet! On screen, Grandma reached beside her and picked up a small folder. There are things I never spoke about openly, she said, not because I was unaware, but because I wanted to see who would reveal themselves without pressure. Your uncle leaned forward slightly despite himself. Your cousin's eyes were locked to the screen now, tension replacing arrogance. Grandma opened the folder. Inside were documents, bank statements, handwritten notes, copies of records. I built this carefully, she said. Not my wealth, my understanding. The words sounded heavier than they should have, like they carried more meaning than just paper. I observed patterns, she continued, who helped me when no one was watching, who called me when there was nothing to gain, and who suddenly became interested in me when my health declined. A pause, then softer. Human behavior becomes very simple when money enters the room. Your uncle shifted sharply at that. The room noticed, even you noticed, Grandma continued, and then there is my grandchild. Your chest tightened again. This time the tone changed, not louder, not softer, but final. She did not come into my life when I became weak, Grandma said. She was there when I was still strong enough to be difficult. A faint, almost invisible smile crossed her face. I was not easy to care for, she added, and she never once treated me like I was a burden. Your aunt scoffed quietly, but it lacked conviction now. The screen continued. Grandma's expression turned serious again. So if any of you believe she stole from me, she said, then I want you to consider something very carefully. She leaned closer to the camera. I trusted her with things I never trusted myself to remember. The room went still again. Even your uncle didn't interrupt. Then Grandma set the folder down, and now, she said, voice lowering slightly, we come to the part you were not supposed to see unless you forced my hand. A beat, the lawyer's fingers tightened slightly on the remote. Your stomach dropped not from fear, but from anticipation. Grandma looked straight into the camera one last time. If they accuse her, she said clearly, play the second file. The screen cut to black for half a second. Then a new file name appeared. Your aunt leaned forward. What second file? She demanded, but the lawyer didn't answer. Because his hand had already moved, and the moment his finger hovered over the next button, the entire room realized something terrifying. This was not a will reading anymore. It was a trigger, and it had already begun to fire. The moment the second file opened, the room changed again, this time in a way no one could ignore. The screen didn't immediately show Grandma. Instead, it displayed a simple title in plain white text. If they accuse my grandchild. A cold unease spread through the chairs. Your uncle leaned forward, squinting as if he could force the words to mean something else. What is this nonsense? He muttered, but there was a crack in his voice now. The lawyer didn't respond. He simply pressed play. The screen flickered, and then the truth began to unfold. This time, Grandma appeared in a different setting. Not the chair by the window, not calm and reflective. This was her study desk, stacks of papers neatly organized, a lamp casting a warm circle of light over her face. But her expression was different, not soft, strategic, like she had been waiting for this exact moment longer than anyone in the room could imagine. If you are watching this file, she said, voice steady but sharper than before, then you did exactly what I expected. A pause. Her eyes narrowed slightly. You accused her, the word her, didn't need clarification, everyone knew. Your aunt shifted uncomfortably. Your cousin crossed her arms tighter. Your uncle tried to maintain his posture, but something in his jaw had gone rigid. On screen, Grandma reached forward and opened a second folder. "This is not emotion," she said. "This is documentation." She pulled out a document and held it closer to the camera. "Over the past 2 years, I tracked every financial irregularity in this household." A ripple of confusion spread across the room. Your uncle frowned. Financial irregularities, but no one answered him, because Grandma was already continuing. "I noticed withdrawals," she said, "missing amounts, small at first, easy to dismiss, then larger, more frequent." She turned a page. "And I also noticed something else." Her gaze sharpened. "I noticed who always arrived with explanations ready." Your uncle's face stiffened. The lawyer glanced at him briefly but said nothing. Grandma continued. "So I did what any responsible person would do," she said calmly. "I verified everything." The screen cut briefly to images, bank records, timestamps, signatures, digital logs. Real, organized, irrefutable. A slow realization began spreading across the room like frost. Your aunt whispered, "That can't be," but her voice had no strength in it. Grandma's voice continued over the visuals, and I found the pattern. She said, "Always the same account, always the same person." The screen paused on one highlighted name. Your uncle's name. The room didn't explode immediately. It froze first, like reality itself had to adjust before reacting. Your uncle shot up from his chair. "This is fake," he barked. "She's manipulating everything from beyond the grave." But his voice cracked harder this time. The lawyer finally spoke, calm and unwavering. "These documents were verified legally before her passing." That sentence hit like a hammer. Your uncle turned sharply toward him. "You're lying." But the lawyer didn't blink. "I am not." On screen, Grandma leaned back slightly. "I did not confront this while I was alive," she said, "because I wanted to see how far it would go." A pause. "And now I know." Her expression softened just slightly. "But this is not the only reason I made this recording." The room stilled again. Even your uncle, still standing, hesitated. Grandma looked directly into the camera again. "Now," she said, "let's address the accusation." The screen shifted. A new clip appeared, security footage you inside Grandma's room, but this time it was different. The angle was clearer, the timing precise. It showed you entering, not sneaking, but responding to a phone call. The screen zoomed slightly, revealing your expression. Concern, urgency, care. Your aunt frowned. "That's," Grandma's voice overlaid the footage. "She came because I called her," she said, "because I asked her to check on me when I felt unwell." The footage continued, showing you helping Grandma sit, adjusting her medication tray, checking her pulse monitor. No drawers opened, no items taken, no theft, just care, just presence. The room slowly shifted again, but this time it wasn't anger that grew. It was uncertainty. The kind that makes people uncomfortable with what they were so sure about moments earlier. Your cousin looked down. Your aunt avoided eye contact. Even your uncle hesitated, but only for a second before anger tried to reclaim him. "This doesn't prove anything," he snapped. "She still manipulated." "Stop," the lawyer said firmly. One word, enough to silence him. On screen, Grandma's expression turned colder again. "Now," she said, "for the consequence." The words changed the atmosphere instantly. The screen displayed another document, a legal will amendment, final clause. Grandma's voice was steady as she read it aloud. "If any family member falsely accuses my chosen beneficiary of theft, manipulation, or exploitation without proof validated by my legal executor, they shall be immediately removed from all inheritance rights." A heavy silence dropped. Then she added softly, and their portion shall be redistributed to those they wronged. Your uncle went pale. Your aunt's hand trembled. Your cousin whispered, "No, no, that's not possible." But the lawyer already spoke. "It is legally binding." The finality of it hit like a closing door. On screen, Grandma leaned forward one last time. "And to my grandchild," she said softly, voice no longer sharp but warm again, "you do not need to defend yourself anymore." A pause. "I already did." The screen went black. No one moved. No one spoke. Even your uncle, who had been so loud, so certain, so ready to destroy you with words, stood frozen, as if the truth had finally taken the ground from under him. The lawyer closed the folder slowly. "This concludes the recording," he said, but the room didn't feel concluded. It felt exposed. And for the first time since the funeral began, no one was looking at you like a thief. They were looking at you like someone who had survived something they never even understood. And in the quiet that followed, the only thing louder than their shame was Grandma's final gift still echoing in the room.